Attention in the auditorium, attention in the auditorium. If you can hear me, raise your hand. There you go, there you go. We got a few minutes before our meeting starts, and I just want to say thank you for coming. And if you could please find the chair, we have to keep the aisles clear. The fire marshal, he's watching. So if we need more chairs, we can have more chairs put out. But please find a chair before we start. That would be very helpful. And I thank you again for coming. It's exciting to have a full auditorium and children in our auditorium. Thank you again for coming. Please find a chair. We'll be starting momentarily. Please find a chair. If we need more chairs back there, just raise your hand. We need more chairs. We're good? We're good? We have a few chairs up front here. We need to clear the aisles. Everybody needs to have a seat, please. Please find a seat. We cannot start the meeting while the aisles are congested. Everybody needs to find a seat. I appreciate your help and assistance here. If there's an empty chair by you, just raise your hand. Welcome to the South Bay Union School District Board of Trustees meeting. Today is June 6th, 2024. The time is 6 o'clock. Just as a reminder and helpful to us, if everybody would turn their phone to silence, that would be appreciated in advance. Just a side note, we do have public comment cards in the back. Please, if you want to speak tonight, go ahead and hand them in to Ms. Cooper. They're available in the back. If you need more back there, let Ms. Cooper know because she can't see back there. So that would be helpful too. Moving on. We call this meeting to order. Please call the roll call, Ms. Amy.
Esparza,
Present.
Liker,
Here.
Lopez Aguino,
Here.
Medina,
Here.
Quinones.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if you would all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, trustees, staff, and audience members. As I may need to leave the meeting early tonight due to a personal matter, I ask for your indulgence as I share my board communication at this time. During the May 20th special board meeting, I made several comments in response to the superintendent's new concept for the district-wide transformation related to the asset management. Some of my remarks, especially those related to Nestor Language Academy, may have been misinterpreted. Please know that the board values Nestor Language Academy and we are proud of their many successes. My comments about Nestor facility are not a reflection of the staff nor the students that love their campus or their popularity of the dual language immersion program. I am sorry if my comments caused concern, as this was not my intention. The process of reimagining South Bay is difficult and stressful. It is the board's goal to collaborate with the community throughout this process, ensure transparency as we move forward, and support facility and programs changes that ensure success for South Bay and the students and families we serve now and in the future. Thank you, and thank you again for coming. So if you see me rise, I will be handing my gavel to my Vice President Medina, and I will have to leave. And I'm so sorry. I need to be with my family. So, but I'm here. So thank you. Now, changes in the agenda. At this time, trustees or executive team members may recommend changing the order of the agenda items and or requests.
Excuse me, President Quinones, you skipped.
Sorry, report of closed session. Thank you. Do we have a report tonight, board clerk?
No report?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we go to 4. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Changes in the agenda. At this time, the trustees and executive team members may recommend changing the order of the agenda items and or request that an item from the consent calendar be placed within the discussion action section of the board meeting. The secretary will keep track of any recommendations. Please note, no new items may be added without advance public notice. At this time, is there any request of changing the order of the agenda? Superintendent? Trustees, I would like to move the consent calendar to the top of our agenda this evening, in that our consent calendar pays our bills and our employees and those that contract with us. And with your approval, I move that forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call for the vote.
I'm sorry, Madam President, just to be clear, where is it going to go on the agenda?
Gonna go.
Is it
under-
going to be first in discussion action or?
Would it be okay to move it to under 5?
Right after approval of the agenda?
Yes.
I think that's good.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. We'll call for the vote.
Esparza,
Yay.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. It's so important that we pay our bills. So here we go, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar will be enacted in one motion in the form listed below. Prior to the approval of the meeting agenda, there was an opportunity to request placing consent calendar items in the discussion action sections of the board meeting. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the board vote. The superintendent and staff recommend approval, adoption, ratification, acceptance of all consent calendar items unless otherwise noted. May we have a motion?
I move to approve all items on the consent calendar as listed, including the superintendent's recommendations for denial or approval of leave of absences.
May we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. May we call for the vote, please?
Esparza,
Yes.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, trustees, for that consideration. We're moving on to item 6, communication to the Board of Trustees. I'd like to welcome up for a 5-minute limit per group. Our first group up would be the South Bay PTA Council. And I believe that she has sent us an email this afternoon about 3:30, so it's in your inbox, in your email. So we thank our PTA Council President for that communication. Next up would be the California School Employees Association, Chapter 59, CSCA. Chapter 59, CSCA. Hearing none. Next up would be Southwest Teachers Association, SWATA. Welcome.
Good evening, trustees, executive team, colleagues, parents, and community member. This year's California school budget picture looks bleak, but it is not projected to be a cut in funding for public education. There is still a projected increase in the funded COLA. Recent good funding years have created for SBUSD a giant surplus of over 40% of their total outgo. This surplus will be useful as a bridge for the 24-25 school year. We will be able to continue to attract and retain qualified education professionals and keep cuts as far away from the classroom as possible. The budget that you will be discussing tonight includes a reduction, yes, you heard that, a reduction in the total dollars being spent on teachers, a reduction of 5.7%. That is a reduction of spending on services that directly impact the classroom. Yet this budget also includes an increase, an increase in 11% for administration spending. How many administrators do we really need when we're in a decline of enrollment? This money is not used.
One moment, please. Hold your time. One moment, please. Please help us. If the speakers are here, they're facing your way. So when we clap, we can't hear. So please help me recognize our public comment and our Southwest Teachers Association, who is proudly representing her members. Thank you. Go ahead.
This money is not used directly in our classrooms. You've multiple times questioned the efficacy of our TOSAs. But are you asking the same about the administration? The district is concerned about our declining enrollment. Is it as bad as you say? Well, this year, SBUSD exceeded the projected enrollment by 109 students. Yes, the drop in enrollment is a concern. We need to address it, but we need to address it together. The superintendent seems to be grasping at straws, throwing out different ideas, but he is not engaging the community and employees in the process like he should be. It is time for SBUSD to engage our South Bay community in a transparent process. We need parents, educators, and other employees and students together in a meaningful and transparent conversation about the future of SBUSD. Have you thought about why this community is here tonight so upset? They are upset because the administration has not set a table for this kind of transparent process. Our educators, employees, parents, and students must have a real place at the table to discuss and decide our South Bay District's future. This budget that you will look at tonight is a plan, a draft. There are monies committed in this budget that can be recommitted. As we look into the future, this budget can change and should change. As our future is not yet written, this budget is not carved in stone. When this budget is passed, SWATA will take a very close look at SBUSD's budget plan. When the legislature finishes their work at the end of this month, we will all take another look at this budget. The important thing is to remember this. The district has the reserve funds to bridge this year and provide the funding and time for our community and educators to plan the future of South Bay Union School District, a plan that is created together as a community with all stakeholders in this transparent process, not a plan that is created behind closed doors. It has been said that a school district's budget reflects its values. Will SBUSD budget show that they value their students by investing in the classroom? SWATA looks forward to working with our community for a bright future of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to District Superintendent. Welcome, Superintendent.
Thank you, President Quinones. I'm going to try not to take so much time because I know we have quite a few public comments and I want to make sure we can get to those. I just want to start by thanking our students, staff, and families for completing another school year. Today was the last day of our school, and we have done a lot of work at our school classrooms and at our schools. So thank you very much, Team South Bay Union School District. Then I want to highlight on May 20th, we presented a concept, an idea. And I just want to summarize how that idea came to be. When we identified as declining enrollment as one of our biggest challenges that we were facing as a district, we established a committee of our partners, some parents, teachers, classified, some management, staff. We established a committee to look at that data and come up with some options. They are an advisory committee. What that means is they get to advise the superintendent. That's what that means. That's the role of an advisory committee. It does not mean that they make the decisions. It means that they advise the decisions that are going to be made. Once we had a starting point, then we wanted to share that with our larger community. We had three town hall meetings where our focus was really to create an opportunity for parents to look at the options and then provide feedback on those options. As a result of that feedback, we looked at all that feedback and we looked at the advice from the advisory committee and we came up with the concept to deal with, one, declining enrollment, two, to deal with some of our academic scores, three, to deal with some of the issues created when you have really small schools, like combination classrooms, a lot less time for PLC. It's really hard to have a PLC when you only have 1 or 2 teachers per grade level. So we looked at those things. We also looked at how can we address, the issue of our students leaving us? How can we try to retain some of our students? It was very clear in the feedback that we received, not only in the town halls, but also in the feedback we received through our LCAP input sessions. It was very clear that parents, staff, our community is really asking for additional programs. So we took all of those ideas and then we put forward a concept. That concept will now go back to the committee, the advisory committee. It's going to go back to the committee. We're going to have some more town halls. And then finally, we're going to come up with a proposal that is going to come back to the board and will be presented to the board. At this time, decisions have not been made. We are going through a process of really engaging our community to hear some of their concerns. I appreciate all the red in the audience today. I know Nestor is here, and I appreciate them being here. They were here a couple of days ago, and a very large group met with me for a couple of hours where we could talk about this concept. So I appreciate them being back today. But the board and I are very clear that Nestor is here today. Mendoza was here before. Whoever is impacted, and I've said this several times, our whole district will be impacted by whatever decision is made. The board's role, the board's job is to ensure that the best plan for the district as a whole is approved. If we come together as a team, as one community, as a district community, I believe we can come up with a solution where if we all do a little, no one has to do a lot. I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe in this community. I believe in our board. And I thank everybody for staying engaged. Finally, I want to wish everyone a good break. We've had a lot of work, so a good break is due. Our staff is busy preparing for the new school year, and we look forward to welcoming our students back in July. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent. We will move on to item 7, public comments on non-agenda items. Regarding public comments, just a friendly reminder about clapping. It's important for us to hear the speaker. So just a little reminder about that and as well as the time. The board will take no action or discussion in any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each non-agenda item. Speakers are not permitted to yield their time to another. The board limits the total time of public input on each item to 20 minutes. Ms. Cooper, do we have any public comments tonight?
We do. We have 15, which is 45 minutes.
Okay, what say you, board? We have 15 public comments on non-agenda items. Would you like to have them heard all at 3 minutes apiece? That would be how many minutes? 45 minutes, at a total of 45 minutes, trustees. What say you? Hear all at 3 minutes? And understanding that if anybody needs translation, they get double time. So, as we begin, Ms. Cooper. Ms. Cooper,
I'm sorry.
are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah. May we call the first public speaker? Do we have our translator available?
Yes, that's what we're trying to ensure that we're highlighting. So we do have a translator that will be coming up to the podium for anybody that needs that. We have a couple of them. We also have, do we have the headsets? Yes. So we also have a translator that has headsets that's in the back that's speaking into the headsets.
The headsets are where? Okay, is everybody set? Yes, please.
Nomás queríamos asegurar que todas las personas que no hablan inglés y español puedan entender la reunión de hoy. Tenemos una intérprete atrás que está traduciendo toda la junta. Entonces, si prefieren escuchar la reunión en español, pueden pasar atrás, agarrar audífonos para que entiendan todo lo que se hable el día de hoy.
Thank you. First public comment. We're going to call 3 at a time. So when you hear your name, if you would line up here at the bulletin board under Oneonta and Penn. So we'll call 3 at a time. So first up would be
Lonnie Byer, Metzli Rios de la Cruz, and Fernanda Rios.
Okay, thank you for all the challenges you guys have ahead of you. We do respect all your work and your efforts to look for solutions.
Can you speak closer to, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to say straight off the bat that, our purpose here, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know for me is to make sure that Nestor stays united. Nestor, as I had mentioned last Tuesday, is not just a dual language program. It is a Spanish immersion program. for which parents coming in whose children's first language isn't Spanish, which is mine here, are to commit to the full length of the program in order to receive its benefits. My son here, Odin Bear Wilson, we come from a perspective of the non-native or non-native Spanish speakers, so coming in as English speakers. My son at the end of kindergarten was conversational in Spanish, and now that he's finished second grade, he's completely literate in Spanish. I'd like to emphasize that to separate children of different grades across different buildings will be a huge disruption to this program. Nestor is a community for which the 8th graders come and support the younger grades. We work together. My son has this amazing racial blindness and acuteness to different cultures. And that is truly a testament to the success of Nestor and his academic excellence as well. So again, to separate grades across across different buildings will be a major disruption to student progress and confidence. It'll break up the community. Nestor is a standalone school for many reasons that we all know, both in enrollment and attendance, as well as in excellence. So we really ask that the program not be watered down, not that that's the intention, but that not be broken up and kept together. Whatever your solutions are, please take that off the table. Did you have anything you wanted to say? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up would be
Metzli Rio de la Cruz.
I'm going to say this in Spanish, just so you know. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Metzli Ríos de la Cruz. Soy una estudiante en la Academia de Idiomas de Nestor.
Good evening. My name is Metzli Rios de la Cruz. I am a student of Nestor Language Academy.
Estoy aquí con ustedes para hablar sobre la separación que el distrito le quiere hacer a la escuela Nestor.
I am here to speak to you about the separation that the district wants to make at Nestor.
En mi perspectiva como estudiante, si el distrito quiere separar a la escuela Nestor porque es un peligro tener a muchos estudiantes, por separarla van a perder a muchos estudiantes.
In my perspective, give me a second. In my perspective, if the district wants to separate Nestor because it's dangerous to have a lot of students there, you are going to lose a lot of students.
Si la inscripción en el distrito está baja, según la información del superintendente en la junta del martes el 4 de junio, Nestor tiene lista de espera y si ustedes la separan, los estudiantes y padres no van a querer continuar en Nestor.
If enrollment in the district is low, according to the superintendent, in the meeting from Tuesday, 4th of June, Nestor has a waiting list. If you separate students, parents are not going to want to continue to be at Nestor. And this is going to affect enrollment in the entire district.
En los años 2010, entre 2017, Nestor tuvo una directora llamada Guadalupe Áviles.
In the years 2010 and between 2010 and 2017, Nestor had a principal named Guadalupe Áviles.
Ella tuvo una visión de Nestor, de cómo ella quería la escuela. Ella se imaginaba que Nestor fuera una escuela de doble inversión de TK hasta 8º grado.
She had a vision at Nestor that she imagined that Nestor was going to be a strong school of dual language that went from TK through 8th grade.
Ella tuvo esta visión porque ella sabía que aprendiendo dos idiomas de TK hasta octavo grado beneficiaba a los estudiantes académicamente.
She had this vision because she knew that learning 2 languages from TK through 8th grade would benefit all students academically.
Si separan la escuela, ustedes, el distrito, van a destruir esa visión que ella tuvo.
If you separate the schools, the district is going to destroy the vision that she had.
Yo he estado en Néstor desde kinder. A mí me ha beneficiado mucho aprender español e inglés.
I have been at Nestor since kindergarten. It has benefited me so much to learn English and Spanish.
Es muy importante saber comunicarse en dos idiomas porque te puedes comunicar con aún más gente.
It's very important to communicate in 2 languages because you can communicate with more people.
Si ustedes separan a Néstor, yo no creo que sepan qué tanto beneficia a los niños. Si ustedes dicen que sí saben, pues no se parece.
If you say that separating Nestor, you think that you know a lot and that it's going to benefit students, you're saying that it's going to benefit students, then you don't know what you're talking about.
No nomás va a afectar a los niños la separación, pero también va a afectar a los padres. Mi mamá entra a las 8 de la mañana a trabajar y mi papá entra a las 9 de la mañana.
It's not just going to affect students. It's going to also impact parents. My mom goes to work at 8 a.m. to go to work, and my dad goes to work at 9 a.m.
Según el superintendente, el 4 de junio, TK hasta tercer grado va a entrar a las 8 y cuarto hasta octavo entra a las 8:30 de la mañana.
According to the superintendent, on June 4th, he shared that students in TK through 3rd would go to school at 8 a.m. and students in 4th grade through 8th grade would enter at 8 a.m.
Mi papá trabaja en downtown.
My dad works in downtown.
Sin tráfico de Néstor hasta downtown es unos 15 a 20 minutos, sin tráfico. Hay unos padres que también entran a trabajar a las 8 o a las 8:30.
My dad works downtown. With traffic from Nestor through downtown, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes without traffic. There will be some parents who also have to work at 8:30.
Gracias por su atención. Mi nombre es Metzi Ríos de la Cruz y soy orgullosa ser parte de Néstor.
Thank you for your time. My name is Metzli Rios de la Cruz, and I am proud to be part of Nestor.
Thank you so much. Our next 3 public comment. Ms. Cooper, can we have 2 more on the waiting there?
Lizbeth Becerra and Renata Gutierrez.
Yeah, if you, right there, Bayoni, onto there. Yeah, please.
And this is Fernanda Rios.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and community. My name is Fernanda Rios, and I am the parent of 2 kids that attend Nestor Language Academy. I am here to express my discontent with the 4th option that the Superintendent's Advisory Committee threw at us out of the blue, which consists of separating Nestor in half. Supposedly, as a district, you would be looking at what option would least negatively impact our students' education and well-being. With this option, you would be affecting 9 schools, which includes the complete closure of Central, Sunny Slope, Berry, and splitting up Nestor. If in reality you are looking out for the well-being and education of our kids, affecting 9 schools would not be the correct option. I'd also like to mention with this option, you would break the academic structure that has resulted in Nestor having a huge academic success for many years. This dual language immersion, TK through 8th model and vision was created way before its time. Nowadays, there are many districts and schools that want to replicate the same structure that exists here at Nestor because they see that the students come out with high academic achievements. The other evening, the superintendent compared the separation of Nestor to that of a family that is separated. He said that a family that is separated is still able to function. And I don't disagree that there are some cases in which that is true. However, statistically, students deal with more obstacles that affect their mental health and well-being, which also affects their academics when living in a separated family. Considering this, why on earth would you want to split up Nestor if it's going to affect them mentally and academically? Currently, Nestor's dual language immersion program has a solid path that prepares our kids to receive their biliteracy seal in high school. Splitting up the school will disrupt the academic climate it has been able to establish for years. We urge you not to split up Nestor, which is TK through 8th dual language immersion model, because this will negatively affect a third of the students in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one up. Ms. Cooper.
Lisbeth Becerra.
Hola, mi nombre es Lisbeth Becerra. Yo traigo unas 3 propuestas para ustedes. Las traigo unas en inglés.
Good evening. My name is Yvette Becerra, and I brought with you 3 proposals, and she's going to share them with you.
Okay, sorry. Ok. Mis 3 propuestas para ustedes. De antemano, muchas gracias por el tiempo que se han tomado aquí con nosotros.
My 3 propositions for you are, but first and foremost, thank you for my time this evening.
Ok, van las 3 propuestas.
Here goes the 3 proposals.
La última junta, el día de el 4 de junio, habló el señor Espinosa sobre el problema principal que está atravesando Néstor.
During the last meeting on the 4th of June, we spoke with Superintendent Espinosa over a main problem that is happening at Nestor.
El problema principal son los salones portátiles.
The first problem were the classrooms that are in portables.
Esto nos llamó la atención porque los salones están a punto de caducar.
This caught our attention because the classrooms are falling apart.
Las 3 propuestas que yo ofrezco.
The 3 proposals that I'm offering.
Número 1 sería cambiar 2 portátiles por año.
Dígalo otra vez.
La primera propuesta sería cambiar 2 portátiles por año.
The first proposal is to switch out 2 portables per year.
Empezaríamos con el edificio número 19,
We would start with the one in Building 19,
que es del 1979.
which was built in 1979.
El otro sería el SP, que también se construyó en el 1979.
The other one would be in
SP.
SP that was built in 1979.
Esa sería la primera propuesta.
That's the first proposal.
La segunda sería cambiar los portátiles por salones permanentes.
The second one would be to change the portables for permanent classrooms.
Y nuestra tercera propuesta es que se quede todo como estaba al inicio, que los niños de nosotros se vayan a la escuela de Mendoza y los de Mendoza se vayan a Nestor.
The third proposal would be that,
Nestor goes.
that the students at Nestor stay together and they go to Mendoza, and that the students at Mendoza go to
Nestor.
Nestor.
Esa es una parte, okay? Now, I do have some information that I want to share with all people right here. We have a code from the California Education, the code is 35186, que dice, no sé si me puedes ayudar,
that says
que nosotros podemos poner una queja por
That-
las instalaciones de la escuela.
that we can file a complaint because of the stability, the current reality of the resources,
En
the
realidad,
facilities.
donde dice que la escuela tiene que mantenerse limpia, mantenerse segura y mantenerse en buen estado.
That say that the school needs to be, it needs to be maintained, it needs to be clean, it needs to be safe, and it needs to be in a good state.
Y hasta ahorita he recolectado 90 quejas listas para entrar al estado.
And right now, I've collected 90 complaints ready to submit to the state.
Yo recomiendo que la primera propuesta es la mejor.
I recommend that the first proposal is the best,
Y aquí están las quejas.
and here are the 90 complaints that she was referenced.
¿Ok? También quiero comentarles que tenemos ahorita, hemos acumulado 40 Williams reports con 200 firmas acompañándolo.
We've also compiled 40 Williams reports with 200 signatures to support the reports,
Acompañado también de una queja
accompanied by a complaint
del California Education Discipline School,
from California Educator Discipline School District,
donde estamos diciendo que queremos que 2 miembros sean restituidos o revocados.
where we're saying that we want 2 members to be
Revocated. Revoca. Sí.
to be removed. 2 members from the district to be removed.
Yes. Okay. We have the right to do that. Perfect.
It's perfect.
Tenemos el derecho de hacer eso.
We have the right to do that.
Y esto durante todo este proceso, ustedes estarán suspendidos de sus credenciales.
And during this time, all of you are going to be suspended
2 members.
for those 2 members.
Muchas gracias. Disculpen las molestias que les he ocasionado en todo este tiempo.
Thank you for your time, and I apologize for the inconveniences that I may have caused during this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Next up. Please call 2 more, please. Next up.
Renata Gutierrez, and then, excuse me, Angelica Torres Alvarado and Michelle Casas.
Hola, mi nombre es Renata Gutiérrez. Soy alumna de Néstor desde TK.
Hi, my name is Renata Gutierrez, and I am a student since TK at Nestor.
Yo no estoy de acuerdo con la nueva propuesta.
I'm not in agreement with the new proposal.
Me siento muy afectada y triste por esto,
I am very affected and very sad about this
porque mi escuela y mi comunidad son muy unidas y fuertes.
because my school and my community are very united and strong.
Porque nos cuidamos unos a los otros y nos apoyamos.
Because we take care of one another and we support one another.
Yo me siento muy orgullosa de ser parte de la comunidad Néstor.
I am very proud to be part of the Nestor community.
No quiero que separen a mi escuela y mi comunidad.
I don't want you to separate my school or my community.
Deseo tener experiencia de TK hasta 8º grado
I desire to have a learning experience from TK through 8th grade
en mi escuela.
in my same school.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Come on up to the podium, the next.
Angelica Torres Alvarado.
Yeah, if you could be ready, the next one's up. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Angélica. Mi comentario es, por como padre, no hay algo que no pudiéramos hacer por nuestros hijos.
Hi, my name is Angelica and I'm speaking today as a parent.
Como padre, no hay algo que no pudiéramos hacer por nuestros hijos y es por eso que todos los papás que están aquí están luchando por mantener la escuela junta.
As a parent, there's nothing that we would not do, which is why to maintain the school together, which is why you see all of the families here tonight.
Um, yo no manejo y a mí me queda de distancia la escuela en autobús 40 minutos.
I do not drive, and the distance for me to get to the school by bus is 40 minutes.
Yo elegí la escuela Néstor porque he escuchado muchos comentarios buenos de ellos y lo he visto con mi hija.
I selected the school Nestor because of what I had heard, and I can see it through my daughter.
Mi hija entró a la escuela sin saber escribir y ahorita ha mejorado mucho y hasta está aprendiendo a leer.
My daughter entered school without being able to write, and I can now see her progress that she can even read.
Mi preocupación como madre, lejos de que tenga que ir a otra escuela y eso, mi preocupación es que el separar a la escuela afecte a mi hija, ya
One of my worries as a parent is if there is a separation of the school, is how it's going to impact my daughter.
yo sé que lo que ustedes están haciendo es por mejorar, pero ¿cómo le digo? Lejos, bueno, lo están haciendo por no solo que está afectado a Néstor, sí, por lo que entiendo son otras escuelas y ustedes solo están buscando una solución.
So I understand the situation and that you're trying to come up with a situation, but that it is going to impact multiple schools.
Pero yo quiero como que ustedes vean el beneficio que tiene una escuela de que está junta desde pequeños, ya que los niños hacen vínculos se conocen de más tiempo entre ellos.
I want you to be able to see that the students, when they're all united, they get to know one another.
He escuchado comentarios y he visto en otras escuelas que los niños tienen problemas entre sí, se pelean y Néstor tiene una unidad entre ellos porque se conocen desde chiquitos hasta el 8º grado.
So I have heard comments from other schools that there are fighting and that they don't get along, but here at Nestor, because they've known each other since the beginning, they have more of a community.
Siento que deben de tomar esas cosas en cuenta para mejorar no solo todas las escuelas del distrito, ya que yo he visto videos y cómo los niños, estudiantes pelean enfrente de su clase, enfrente de los propios profesores y siento que eso es algo que no pasaría en esto.
So I feel that that's something that you have to take into consideration. She's seen videos where there's a lot of fighting that's taking place, but she feels that at Nestor, that's something that's not happening.
Hace poco tuve una junta con los maestros y mi esposo hizo un comentario, como en esa junta se presentó la directora con nosotros, mi esposo hizo un comentario en el cual decía, como estuvo la directora, él dijo, oh, no sabía que mi hija fuera tan importante para que esté aquí y ella dijo, todos nuestros estudiantes nos importa y siento que es algo que se refleja en la escuela.
So recently she had a meeting along with her husband, and at this meeting, her husband made a comment that said that because the principal was there, that said, wow, like I didn't realize like my daughter was so important. And that the principal stated like all of our students here at our school are important to us.
Pues solo ese es mi comentario y yo sé que van a tomar la mejor decisión y gracias por la atención.
That is just her comments, but she knows that you're going to make the best decision tonight, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Our next public speaker is
Michelle Casas, and then Aurelia Puga and Maria Musser.
Thank you. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Michelle Casas, and my daughter, she's a former student from Nestor. So I'm gonna do my speech in Spanish, and she will translate for me to make sure you guys get my message correctly. Okay. Primero que nada, estoy para agradecerles a todos ustedes, primero por las 2 horas que nos brindó, pero hoy estoy aquí de una manera diferente y mi mensaje es otro. Soy Michelle, una mamá en Néstor por más de 12 años. He visto de primera mano la excelencia académica, el bilingüismo, el biletrado, la sociocultura y sobre todo la unión de su comunidad. A través de estos meses he tratado de recaudar más datos para entender mejor el por qué tantas posibles propuestas por ustedes, miembros del comité, y de usted, señor superintendente. Porque esto afectaría a nuestra escuela. Realmente nada de la información presentada por ustedes aplica para Néstor. Con pruebas y reportes, pueden ver que nuestra escuela no presenta un problema o riesgo inmediato. Es por esto, miembros del comité, que les pido reconsideren Néstor y lo remuevan del plan. Por favor, mantengan nuestra escuela unida. Confío en que tomarán la mejor decisión, ya que nuestra escuela cuenta no solo con el apoyo de sus maestros, del personal, de estudiantes, de padres de familia, sino que también con un ángel en el cielo que luchó tanto para que Néstor fuera lo que es hoy en día. Que no se olvide el legado de nuestra querida directora, Lupita Avilés, que en paz descanse. Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashanti. I'm a former nursing student, and I will be translating for my mom today. I have witnessed firsthand the academic excellence, bilingualism, biliteracy, socioculturalism, and above all, the unity of its community. Throughout these months, I have tried to gather more information to understand why so many possible proposals that impact our school by all of you, members of the committee, and by you, superintendent. Truly, none of the information presented by you applies to Nestor. With evidence and reports, you can realize that our school is not a problem nor a hazard. This is why, members of the committee, I ask you to reconsider Nestor's future and remove it from the plan. Please keep our school together. I have trust that you will take the best decision since Nestor counts not only with the support of its teachers, staff, students, and parents, but also with its angel in heaven that fought so much to make Nestor what it is now. Please do not let the legacy of our beloved principal Lupita Avilés be forgotten. May she rest in peace. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up.
Good evening. My name is Oralia Puga Nabizere, and I am a 30-year veteran teacher of the South Bay Union School District. I have spent 25 of those years working at Nestor. I became part of the Language Academy team after the second year there. I have had the honor of working with a team of dedicated, amazing teachers. Through the years, our school and dual immersion program have had many challenges and have faced adversity, but together we have overcome them. It is not an easy task to teach a language with limited resources, but that as a team, we work endless hours to provide the best education for our students. Because we wanted to continue to offer our students the opportunity of learning a second language while maintaining their native language, we had to become a charter school dependent of the district. That in itself took Nestor staff numerous hours to collectively compose the language of our charter. We did this for the love of teaching language learners and because we believe in the power of bilingualism. To hear the president of the Board of Trustees say that having a charter school at Mendoza would be sinful and that she would simply not allow it is hurtful and discriminatory. Her remarks like, sorry, Nestor, not sorry, were mean, unnecessary, and uncalled for. We didn't ask to be moved to Mendoza. A team of experts hired by the superintendent and a committee came up with that option as a solution to the district's current situation. It was shocking news to all of us at Nestor. When we learned of the reason behind it, we trusted that the Board of Trustees and the administrative staff had the best intentions for everyone. Unfortunately, with President Quiñones' offensive comments about the Nestor community and our charter, trust has been broken. And your recent proposal of separating our school is questionable and simply unacceptable. President Cheryl Quiñones, you claim that your comments were misinterpreted. No, they weren't. We have you recorded. And you owe our community a true apology. You need to accept that you carelessly shared your preference for two of our district schools. You stated that Mendoza and VIP were the district's babies. This comment is unbecoming of a board member that is supposed to represent an entire school district, including the charters. Most importantly, you're in a position where you should be advocating for all students in our district, including our children at Nestor. Remember that you are up for re-election, so do the right thing. Thank you.
Next up. Next up. The room will come to order. Okay, we're gonna take a timeout. 5-minute timeout.
Are we continuing?
Please, members of the auditorium, public staff and trustees. I want to hear all public comments, and as I shared earlier, I have a family that's waiting for me. And it's important for me to hear everyone. So please show us some grace as we call up our next three speakers.
Maria Musser, followed by Elma Fernandez, followed by Claudia Sam.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Alma Fernández. Yo vengo aquí en representación de todas las madres trabajadoras.
Hello, my name is Alma Fernandez, and I come to you speaking on behalf of all mothers who are working.
Sorry, madres y padres trabajadores.
My apologies, mothers and fathers who also work.
Mi hija acaba de terminar el preescolar y el siguiente año comienza a TK en Nestor. Y tengo otro niño que va en tercero, ingresa a cuarto. Honestamente.
So I have a daughter that just finished preschool that will now be going into TK, and I have a son that just finished third grade that will be going into fourth.
Honestamente, una de las grandes ventajas que encontraba en Nestor era en tener a mis hijos juntos.
Honestly, one of the big advantages was having both of my children together.
Ya que compartían la misma cultura académica, el desarrollo en los dos lenguajes.
That they both shared
ya que compartían académicamente los dos lenguajes y la misma cultura académica al compartir la misma escuela.
That they both shared the same cultural and academic programs and experiences together.
De la misma forma, también me facilita el ir a recogerlos sin arriesgarme yo al estarme preocupando si voy a llegar a tiempo por uno y otro.
It also makes the transportation of pickup a lot easier, and then I don't have to worry about me being late picking up one child or the other.
Una de mis preguntas es, uno de los principales problemas en el distrito es la baja aplicación a las escuelas de South Bay.
So one of her worries is the application of the low scores that we have here in our district.
Néstor tiene el porcentaje más alto de demanda académica en el distrito de South Bay.
Nestor has one of the highest academic ratings in the South Bay Union School District.
Una de las principales razones por las que me motivó inscribir a mis hijos en esa escuela.
Which is one of the reasons why it motivates me to enroll my child at the school.
La segunda razón fue que al ser la escuela bilingüe, le da mayor oportunidad a mis hijos de desarrollarse tanto académicamente como culturalmente.
The other reason is because it gives my child an opportunity to be able to grow and develop, not only being biliterate, but also culturally as well.
Ya que al compartir tanta cercanía con México, nuestros hijos tienen los dos idiomas, tanto español como inglés. Esto favorece el desarrollo cultural y emocional con las familias.
Since we have Mexico so close to us, this benefits the students because not only academically, but culturally as well.
Una de las principales preocupaciones de nosotros como padres de Néstor es qué va a pasar con el programa dual al separar las escuelas.
One of our worries is what is going to happen to the dual immersion program when we separate the schools.
Nuestros hijos ya no van a tener oportunidad de tener contacto con sus parientes que solo hablan español.
Our students will not have the opportunity to be able to communicate with relatives that only speak one language.
Uno de mis hijos iba a tener oportunidad de hablar español perfectamente y el otro no porque está en diferente escuela y con un director que tiene diferentes políticas.
So one of my children is then going to be able to speak in both languages, but then the other student that is going to be at the other school with a different director and a different ideas will not have the same level as my other child.
Los números no mienten. Néstor tiene muy elevada su demanda académica.
The numbers don't lie. Nestor's numbers are really high academically.
Porque en vez de dividir, no buscan imitar. Los resultados de Néstor han sido muy buenos hasta el momento.
Why do you, instead of dividing the school, why do you not look for other ways to emulate what has been a success at Nestor? Nestor is not the problem.
Néstor no es el problema. Néstor ha rebasado su capacidad por los buenos resultados.
Nestor is not the problem. Nestor has surpassed their capacity because of their positive results.
Por último, la comunidad de Néstor no está buscando una guerra con Mendoza, simplemente está tratando de hablar en nombre de todos los padres, maestros, alumnos y familias que queremos mantenernos unidas y esforzándonos por obtener un buen resultado. Estamos preocupados por nuestros hijos y por eso estamos aquí.
So the Nestor community is not here to have a war against Mendoza. We're here because of the worry that we have about the separation of the schools.
Muchas gracias por la atención.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, the next one, calling the next one up.
Claudia Sam, followed by Monica Hueso Melgar, followed by Mary Doyle.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Claudia Sam.
Hi, good evening. My name is Claudia Sam.
Como mamá de Néstor por 12 años y los que me faltan,
As a mom from Nestor for about 12 years and still more to come,
me he dado cuenta de la importancia del programa
I've realized the importance of the program
y los beneficios que obtienen nuestros hijos al asistir a una escuela como Néstor.
and the great benefits that our students have as they attend a school such as Nestor.
Ellos son biletrados, lo que significa que hablan, leen y escriben en los dos idiomas con fluidez.
They are biliterate, which means they read, write, and speak in two languages with fluidity,
Preparándolos mejor para su futuro y dándoles la ventaja de tomar AP classes entrando a high school.
which prepares them better for their future and giving them opportunities to take AP classes as they enter in high school and prepares them to exit and graduate with success.
Me preocupa que dividan la escuela y se pierda el éxito del programa.
I worry that you want to divide our school and then the success of the program lose its flavor.
Como mamá de 4 hijos,
Like as a mom of 4 children,
me preocupa que los demás pequeños no tengan las mismas experiencias y oportunidades que sus hermanos mayores.
as a mom of 4 children, it worries me that the little ones won't have the same experiences that the older students have with the experience that they've had, that the older students have had at Nestor.
Si Néstor no fuera la mejor opción para el futuro de mis hijos, no estaría aquí.
If Nestor wasn't the best option for the future of my children, I wouldn't be here.
¿A quién le gustaría equivocarse 2 veces?
Who would like to be wrong 2 times? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Next up.
Monica Hueso Melgar.
Good evening, Board President Quiñones, board members, Superintendent Espinosa, administration, colleagues, and South Bay Union School District community. I would start by saying that as I speak, I am speaking with my business hat, prior knowledge of business, and not as an educator. Board members, it is extremely important as we navigate this process of consolidations of assets, you are conscious of the process and purpose of the Asset Management Superintendent Advisory Committee. The committee's understanding all along this process is that the initial composition of this Asset Management Superintendent Advisory Committee was to work concurrently with both consulting companies, EHNA and MGT, who specialized on consolidations of assets. For our district is our consolidations of schools due to our current declining enrollment. These 2 companies were supposed to facilitate the committee with issues, data, scenarios, solutions, and all the necessary information needed to come up with recommendations that would be the most cost efficient that would ensure our district future fiscal security. Therefore, the committee worked along for 8 months and paying over $300,000 to these 2 companies. The committee had the task of analyzing, synthesizing all the information provided to them, and they came up with the top 3 recommendations to Mr. Espinosa, which he had the opportunity to share with all of you on Monday, May 20th. Remember, this is a recommendation of consolidation of assets. This is not a recommendation to a dream program proposal or consolidations of programs. It's about facilities. Facilities that were outlined with the appropriate financial burden each school carries and be able to secure financial stability for our district due to our declining enrollment issues. That being said, the proposal that was presented by Mr. Espinosa on May 20th shows complete disregard to the whole entire community of South Bay Union School District and the valuable time the committee invested to come up with a thorough analysis of data and financial reasoning to support the closure of Central, but not the closure of Sunny Slope or repurposing of Berry and splitting all these schools by programs. Currently, this dream program proposal has now created uproar, mistrust, and lots of questions of the intentions and the district financial gains of possibly closing Sunny Slope that is not causing a financial burden at this time. Board members, you are our voices, our ultimate decision-making force. Please question, hear our community, and stand what is right for our community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Mary Doyle.
Good evening. My name is Mary Doyle. I'm a former school board member at this district and a community member and retired teacher from Sweetwater Union. And I come on a related topic. I'm coming about what's going on in our community with the border sewage crisis. And it all kind of flows together. In fact, there was a news article recently about this lowered enrollment that's very extreme in this district and perhaps related to the fact that it's not fun to live here anymore. There's a lot of pollution. It's been referred to as the new Love Canal crisis by the San Diego Union Tribune. But I came here to thank South Bay Union and their school board. Because of them, they've started a kind of a sort of an avalanche of school board resolutions and proclamations since January. And I just wanted to give an update. I know this is a tense time, but if everyone would start moving back into this beautiful place, we would not have enrollment problems. But we don't have a beautiful place because of this pollution. So back in October, the California Coastal Commission gave an informational briefing on this transboundary pollution crisis in the Tijuana River. And from October 11th, after talking to President Quinones and also Bethany Case, an activist with Surfrider, I had the idea, or we had the idea, to get the school districts to present resolutions and proclamations. And since then, first was South Bay at February 2nd, then Sweetwater, March 11th, then San Diego Unified School District, March 25th, then San Ysidro Elementary, April 11th, then National City Elementary, April 17th, then Chula Vista Elementary, April 17th, and Coronado, who doesn't do resolutions, is responsible for sponsoring a letter writing campaign in which one of the board members hand-delivered hundreds of letters to Governor Newsom's office. It's thrilling to see people here fighting for their schools, but we need to fight for this area and advocate to clean up our Tijuana River so people will want to live here, move back here, and build this community back up the way it used to be, with a beautiful, healthy place for our children to live, grow up, and learn in. So I just walked in thinking it'd be an empty place, but I love having a lot of people hear about this. Write a letter to the president too, besides all this other stuff, which is so valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up,
Adriana Tolentino.
is that the final card?
Is Maria Musser still here? Okay. Then yes, Adriana is the last card.
Adriana?
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. My name is Adriana Tolentino. I have been at Nestor since kindergarten, and I'll be going to 5th grade. I respectfully disagree with your proposal of dividing our school. Nestor has been a dual emerge for over 25 years, and I am proud to be part of the Nestor family. Our community is strong because we look out for each other, just like I can look out for my sister, who is now going into 1st grade, but I will not be able to do that if you separate us, so please don't. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess. And I will be leaving, and thank you so much for coming tonight. And as you know, I write my notebook and I don't forget. So I will continue watching tomorrow the recording, and I wish you a good night.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. Moving on to discussion items, educational leadership. I would like to recognize Principal Evelyn Medina for an update on the dual immersion program from Nicola.
Can you hear me now? All right. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, executive team, and community. I am the proud principal, Principal Medina from Nicolap Elementary School, and it is with great honor that we are here to present on our 50/50 dual language immersion program. And with us, we have our amazing dual language teachers. And presenting with me will be Miss Celia Miranda and Ivan Garcia. Last summer, we had the opportunity to work with our parents, our staff, our students, and our coach. And together we came up with our dual language mission and our vision. And as a staff and community, we're committed to providing a quality 50/50 DLI program that inspires and prepares students to be linguistically and academically competent in two languages, Spanish and English. And we wanted to give you an update of how we ended the year with our enrollment. We were projected to be at 585, so we definitely surpassed our projections. And we ended with 75% of our students identify as multilingual learners, 25% as English only. We do service 23% of our student body that either receive self-contained special ed or RSP services, and 73% identify socioeconomically disadvantaged. And we thought it was important to share with you our grade level enrollment by grade levels because it was the first year that we had a full year with our dual language program, and we saw such a tremendous success with our parents' high interest, and you can tell in our numbers. In our DLI, the numbers increased, and we had a huge intake of just parents wanting to be in TKK first in the dual language classrooms. So we were very excited that the program was met with such high expectations from the parents and just being excited to be a part of the program. So we're currently serving 262 students in the DLI. And we wanted to start with the first pillar that drives our program, which is bilingualism and biliteracy. And since opening our program, one of the biggest differences is that when we had our transitional program, 100% of our student body in the classes were multilingual learners. And we know that that's not the correct model. So we're very excited to share that we're actually in some of the classes already a two-way. Why? Because we've gotten interest from different parents. As Mr. Espinosa shared, parents want programs, and that shows. So now we have a mixture in our classrooms of multilingual learners, English only, and newcomers. And of course, this is important. Why? Because students learn from other students. So we're seeing a high intake in just academic language, students engaging in academic dialogue and learning from one another. And then we do have a video, and if you want to share a little bit.
Yes, I'm gonna go into details about our reclassification number on the next slide, but this is my first grader right here, reading in two languages, and he's a first grader. Just, can you please? And he's my first grader, and he's definitely one of our students that reclassified this year. So when you go to the next slide. Okay, now I get to talk about the data. When you look at the green column, this is in the school year 2021, 2022. Notice at the bottom, we had 5 students and we have 75% are multilingual learners. Out of those 75%, 5 of them reclassified. That was in 2021, 22. We initiated our dual language immersion program thanks to our wonderful support. And we initiated our dual language in January of 2023. And as you can see in the blue column, in the year 2022, 2023, we did reclassify 23 students. And this year, in 2023, 2024, we reclassified 28. And if you look at the picture right at the bottom, that's our 6 students who are first and second graders that for the first time in our school history, our little guys, first and second graders, are reclassifying. They're learning enough language to handle themselves in both. So another, we have a criteria to reclassify. The first thing is they have to be a 4 in the LCAP. The second thing is that we have to make sure that they're at grade level in both languages, but in English especially for reclassification, and the teacher recommendation. And I wrote it at the bottom just to make sure that I don't forget that once our students reclassify, we have to monitor them for 4 full years. It's just they don't reclassify today and we're done with them. In fact, I have a picture here of my student from first grade. She reclassified with me last year, Camila Carrillo, and she's now in second grade. And Ms. Nieblas inputted all her data on Elevation, our data system that tracks our students. So we can input videos, writing samples, and anything that we want to make sure that our students are progressing and that they're at grade level in both languages. And this is just a second grader. But when you look at the top, the one thing that we're the most proud of is that our first and second graders, for the very first time, we are looking at reclassifying them. And I believe that 28 is probably going to be triple next year because we have a tremendous group coming up next year. And Dylan is right in front too. Mrs. Medina's son is in this group as well. And another thing that I don't want to forget is another very important data. The last data we have from our California dashboard back in 2019, our school for our multilingual students, who Nicola has always been 80% of them out of 650 students, we were like so bottom red that we didn't even have a number, so I didn't put it there because there's no color. But this year, for the very first time in the history of our school again, our multilingual students, they're in green. They're in green. We score about the state average. The state is scoring in the yellow, and Nicola is scoring in the green. So we're very, very, very proud of that. So as you can, thank you. As you can see, also our program is having great success for our students. And I echo our colleagues tonight that instead of dividing, we want to double the numbers of our students as well, because this data is about kids. It's about the success of our students. So please, Amy, can you put the video of Camila? Another one of our reclassified students reading in 2 languages as well. And sorry. And the reason why we selected Camila because she came just like Dylan, came to kindergarten as an emerging bilingual student. We're not having very much language at all. And now, as you can see, they're reclassifying and they're like thriving in both languages. So anyway, now I like to pass it on to my colleague who's going to talk to you about the strategies we use in terms of the strategies that we are using in our dual language to have high achievement.
Good afternoon. The second pillar of dual language immersion is high academic achievement. The goal of our program is for our students to accomplish high levels of academic achievement in both Spanish and English. This is why our students have two teachers, a Spanish teacher and an English teacher, as well as two classrooms, a Spanish classroom and an English classroom. This helps students understand the language expectations as they enter each of the classrooms, and it encourages them to engage in the target language of instruction. Students receive 1 hour of Spanish language arts and 1 hour of English language arts daily. And then this is one of the non-negotiables that we established as a dual language team. So all students in the dual language immersion program receive daily Spanish language arts and English language arts instruction regardless of grade level. Teachers stay in the target language of instruction, which really immerses students in the target language and encourages them to take risks and engage in the language of instruction. This also supports in lowering students' affective filter. When students are receiving instruction in their second language, they know that they will receive instruction in their primary language the other half of the day, and that they will have those opportunities to engage in their primary language. This really encourages them to take risks and to engage even when they're receiving instruction in their second language. Language support is provided throughout the lessons so that students are able to participate and engage at a high level. Some of the language supports include GLAD strategies, think, pair, share, total physical response, word banks, visual aids, and sentence frames, among others. And we're ready for the next slide. This is the instructional breakdown of our dual language 50-50 program. As I mentioned earlier, students receive 50% of instruction in English and 50% of instruction in Spanish. The subjects that are taught in English include English language arts, English language development, mathematics, visual and performing arts, and STEM. And the subjects that are taught in Spanish include Spanish language arts, social studies, and science. And how this works is that teachers alternate between units of social studies and science. Physical education is taught in Spanish as well. Social emotional learning is taught in students' homeroom class. So some students receive social emotional learning in Spanish while others receive social emotional learning in English. However, we are a Leader in Me school. So all staff reinforce the habits, the vocabulary, and social emotional learning throughout the day. So students are exposed to the habits, vocabulary, and terminology of our Leader in Me program in both Spanish and English. I'm going to pass it on to
And the third pillar, and I'm sure our audience today understand that third pillar of their social cultural competence. And as you can see here, our goals for next year is to continue to build our GLAD multicultural units of study so students can identify themselves with, to continue diversifying our school library to include more bilingual books like the ones that you saw with two of our former students reading in 2 languages, to increase the number of multicultural celebrations. And we are very proud of the fact that thanks to Ms. Medina's support, this year we had our own mariachi group, and Isauro, Mr. Lopez-San, it's right there in front. He is in our mariachi after school program. And that is something that we definitely want to expand. Our pillar number 3 is going to be one of our priorities for next year. Now I'd like to pass it on to our principal to conclude our presentation.
And just some final next steps. So the timeline, this upcoming school year, we'll be adding our 5th grade dual language classes. And then in 25-26, adding our 6th grade. So by 2026, we'll have the program running from TK all the way through 6th grade. And some of the next steps for our staff is that they will continue the work of finishing the scope and sequence, aligning them with the standards, and we're going to continue to work with the San Diego County Office of Education and continue the coaching contract and have professional development for our teachers. And we currently have an open position for our 5th grade DLI Spanish. And this concludes our presentation. We just wanted to share that we've had an amazing school year. We're very, very proud of the work that we have done. Our community has met us with enthusiasm. I know that at several coffee with the principals, they would tell me, I don't know what you're doing, but our kids are coming home tired. They don't want to look at a book because they've been reading too much. So to me, that was a positive. We took it. We were just very happy to be able to meet and give this opportunity to our families, our students, and our staff. And with this being my last presentation for the board, I just wanted to thank Superintendent Espinosa for his mentorship and the board for having me for 4 years, and to my amazing team at Nikolov. It's been an honor to be your principal and to be part of this transformational work.
And I'd just like to thank our principal, Dr. Medina, because she was very supportive to us from the very beginning. She came in and right before the pandemic, and we had our task force, we had our ELACs, we had a lot of meetings virtually. And also just a little closure, this year we were very fortunate to be nominated at the San Diego County Office of Ed Leadership and Biliteracy Symposium Award, not just for one individual, but for our entire dual language team. So that's another thing we're very proud of. And if you have any questions, bring them on.
Any questions, trustees?
I don't have any questions, but amazing work, amazing work. I love seeing your dual language program grow. You know, I'm a big advocate, and as well as with Nestor. So I hope that we can continue to bring this to our district, to give more opportunities for students to be bilingual and biliterate. So thank you so much for all that you have done for our students and our families. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just like to say that very good presentation. Congratulations. You guys do an amazing job.
Thank you.
I also want to say congratulations and thank you for your hard work and your determination. I know this was not easy. It took many years of you all advocating for this program, and the results are not a surprise, right? I think we all knew that as soon as this change happened, we're going to see the scores jump up. And it's obvious, we see it at Nestor, that having a dual language immersion program is very beneficial for our students. And I would love to see more schools, if not all the schools in our district, have a dual language immersion program, because the numbers don't lie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The numbers are amazing. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to give to our students, and your collaboration with parents to bring them in, work with you, and having communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to share this picture, we took it a week ago, and it's all of our DLI students. So just a moment of our why. So thank you so much.
Now, I would like to recognize Director Paola Flores for a report on the recent activities of the District English Learner Advisory Committee.
Buenas noches, good evening. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, Exec Board, and community. So great to see so many faces here this evening. I am so excited just to share some highlights about our last 2 DLACs of the year. So Ms. Cooper, next. Oh, here it is. Thank you. Yes. So we began our year really grounded in the R3 framework, and it was really centered on reflecting, redefining, and rebuilding in efforts to continue to improve and strengthen systems. So this really served as a cornerstone for us to really rethink and look at structures and operations that either are working or are not working for our DLAC committee in efforts to support our multilingual learners and our students and their families. So oftentimes when we dive deep into like, oh, we got to do things differently, but for us, we felt like we just got to start at the basics. And the basics really is really understanding the purpose of DLAC and ELAC. And fundamentally, that means parent empowerment. So we did exactly that. We rolled up our sleeves, we dove into the work, and as soon as our DLAC officers were voted into office, we did that. We created spaces where we collaborated with our parents so that they created agendas. They gave us input on what was the content that we needed to share with other families during our DLAC meetings. In this picture, this is representative of many meetings where we came together to ensure that their voices were heard in order to create meetings that were beneficial for our parents. I also want to say that I feel that our DLAC meetings were successful because of their input. They offered a lot of perspective as a parent that I can't offer, that our superintendent may not be able to offer, or our other directors. But as a parent, they gave us like, hey, think about this, or what about that? So I think that a lot of the success that we had this year was because they were at the table leading the work with us. So that brings us to our March meeting. During our March meeting, our parents came together to provide input for the LCAP input process, where they provided feedback that was important, crucial, and relevant to the next steps on how we support our students here in South Bay. And the work didn't stop there. During our May meeting, our DLAC officers continued to lead. And this time they were co-facilitating the work. There you see our president, Karina, presenting to our DLAC and sharing her lived experience, and also talking about ways in which we can strengthen DLAC and ELAC. She created, I don't know if you can see the little image in the back, but she created flyers to promote DLAC and ELAC that she felt were parent-friendly. So I was very excited about that. Those flyers are going to be sent out at the beginning of the 24-25 school year from all of our sites to inform parents about ELAC, its purpose, and also DLAC. I also want to share that those flyers are now going to be available in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Tagalog, and Haitian Creole. To the left, you also see our other DLAC officer, Ms. Michelle. She is our secretary and takes phenomenal minutes during our collaboration time. There you'll see her leading an activity during DLAC where parents are owning the work for DLAC and ELAC. So that means that we need all hands on deck to help promote and get more parents to be part of ELAC and DLAC. So our parents there were creating signage that they then took back to their sites to share with principals to help put those around the schools and help promote this important committee. Now, with that, we always have to take a time to pause and reflect, celebrate, but also think about what can we do better. And as we did that, it was important to really think about like, okay, DLAC is fundamentally about parent empowerment. So we need to ensure that we look at our parent participation, because we know that when all educational partners are joined at the hip, hand in hand, rolling up our sleeves together, then our students are going to thrive. We need to be working like a well-oiled machine. So we need to look at parent participation. So in this next slide, you're going to see a parent comparison from 22-23 to this current year. In 22-23, we had an average of 6 parents participating through the course of a year in DLAC. This year, I'm happy to share that we saw a 3% increase, which means that we had an average of 9 parents. Now, it's a 3% increase. Now, I'm very well aware that it's not enough. We have to do more. I'm very well aware of that. But I think that we are working on setting the foundations to continue with this increase moving forward. We're thinking strategically about what are the different types of parent outreach that we can do. How do we break the barriers that are getting in the way that are not allowing our families to participate in ELAC and DLAC. The next couple of slides represent a survey that we gave out to our families. I want to share that it wasn't the only survey, and it certainly won't be the last survey. So that was one of the modalities that we received feedback. So the purpose of this survey was really to get our families to tell us, what do you want from us? What do you desire? How can we change things, adjust things? In this slide, they provided feedback about start times. We know that oftentimes that's one of the barriers. In fact, one of the toolkits published from Californians Together states that the times when DLACs occur is one of the barriers that keeps our families from participating. But still then, these were popular times. Now, these just serve as a baseline. They're not the end all be all. We're going to continue to elicit input from our families so that we can find that magic time frame where we can get more families to participate in ELAC and DLAC. This next slide shows, oops, I went too far. There we go. This next slide shows themes and trends and patterns about what our families want to hear while they're at DLAC. They want to learn about resources to support their students. They want to go deep into understanding the reclassification process. They want more parent workshops. They want to learn more about what is DLAC, what is ELAC, what is LPAC. And that's some of the feedback that they provided us. Coupled with that, they shared that they're excited to continue to participate in ELAC for the next school year and DLAC. They want to ensure that DLAC is strong at the district level in order to ensure that that ELACs are also thriving at the site level. They also shared that they want our meetings to be interactive, rightfully so. Who wants to show up to a meeting where someone is just talking at you all day long? No one. So we've been working on adjusting that, and we're going to continue to ensure that that continues for next year. Looking ahead, we are committed to building on the foundation that I have just shared with you. We want to ensure that we empower our parents, that we build relational trust, that we ensure that all of our parents that participate have not only a seat at the table, but a voice that is heard, because DLAC and ELACs are a fundamental foundation that supports our multilingual learners. So thank you so much for allowing me to share this brief highlight about DLAC this year. I welcome any comments or any questions this evening. Thank you.
Any comments, trustees?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much for all your hard work and empowering our parents and creating that trust. It's huge, and I appreciate your work. Thank you.
I really like to see the parent engagement and involvement. And I always wonder, like, why is it that we don't have more dual language immersion programs at our schools? A few years ago, when I started to get involved as a parent, I learned that there's like a law that says that if a certain amount of parents ask for a dual language program, we're required to provide that. And do parents, or like, how are we making sure that parents know that this is an option? Because I have a feeling that if parents knew about this, they would want their kids to go to a school that's dual language immersion, especially when we see the results from the few schools that have these programs.
Absolutely. So two things. So one, you're absolutely correct. When parents petition to seek any type of program, whether it be dual language or STEAM, they absolutely have the right to do that. We are working on advertising that, one, on our website, and two, we also share all the different types of programs that we have through annual notifications that go out at the beginning of the school year. And we also talk about that during our DLAC meetings. In addition to that, this year we have our dual language immersion task force that has been working diligently to create a handbook that is available for our families that says the law. Like, hey, parents, you want to start a dual language? This is what you have to do to request a dual language. Or, hey, teachers, you want to start a dual language? This is what you have to do to start that process. So we are in the midst of that. I'm working with a great team. I'm working with the dual language task force is made up of Principal Medina, la maestra Danitza Nieblas Navarro, la directora Estela Corales, la profesora Susana Edwards, el director Jaime González, la profesora maestra Álvarez, y la señorita Vanessa Barrera. So we are a collective team putting our brains together to set up processes that support dual language programs. So to your point, sir, we're working together to make sure that that information gets out to our families because they deserve that. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know parent involvement is very difficult, even though parents work, Monday through Friday most of the time. So just to get those parents to participate, it's very difficult. So, finding the time frame, just like you said, is very, very hard to just pinpoint exactly when. So, you're doing a good job. It's just do what you can.
Thank you, sir.
As I question you on your last presentation, I see your parent involvement has increased. I would like to know if at the top of your head, parents from which school sites or how many school sites are being engaged.
Well, each site has an ELAC. So for sure, the DLAC representative from each site should be at the DLAC. That's a foundation, along with the principal, because we want to make sure that our parents feel supported and that they get that message. I would say, I don't want to give you wrong information. I'd rather look at sign-in sheets and I could provide that information to you. But I feel like we've had the consistent parents showing up. When the DLACs have been hosted at the school, we predominantly see an increase in participation for that school. But to your point, we really want to ensure that although we want all of the ELAC representatives at DLAC is open to everyone. The only difference is that our DLAC representatives are the ones that do the voting. So we're working on that. And if you want that detailed information about which parents are showing up consistently from each school site, I would prefer to refer back to a sign-in sheet and give you accurate information instead of going off at the top of my head, if that's okay.
Yes, no worries. It's just because it's amazing the percentage. 3%, it's a lot.
Yes.
Even though it's been a little time since I asked you last time.
Yeah.
So that's a great improvement and I appreciate that. But as I mentioned before, I would love to have more parents
Absolutely.
participating and also having the information.
Absolutely. And one of the other barriers besides the time frame that I feel that we've learned is sometimes our families, because of us, not because of them, we have failed to truly communicate the purpose of ELAC and DLAC in other communities. So we need to do a better job in getting that information to them so that they understand and that they bring their assets and that riqueza que tienen de su cultura y las traigan a las juntas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now moving on to local control and accountability plans, I would like to recognize Assistant Superintendent Pamela Riccio Montiel, sorry.
Good evening. Good evening, Vice President Medina, Superintendent Espinosa, trustees, audience, and colleagues. This evening, I bring you the public hearing on the LCAP. Just as a reminder, on June 4th, we participated in a board study session on the new South Bay Union School District 2024-2027 Local Control and Accountability Plan. This evening is the opportunity for the public hearings on the South Bay Union School District LCAP, as well as the LCAPs for Imperial Beach Charter School and Nestor Language Academy Charter. Just a reminder that the LCAP is a 3-year plan that describes the goals, actions, services, and expenditures to support positive school outcomes or student outcomes, that address state and local priorities. The LCAP provides an opportunity for local educational agencies, LEAs, which is why it's the district and our 2 charter schools, because they are considered their own LEAs, even though they are dependent charters, to share their stories of how, what, and why programs and services are selected to meet their local needs. And this is from the California Department of Education. A little background for our audience or those that may not have been with us for the students or for the study session. All school districts are required to produce an LCAP, demonstrating how the LCFF funds are linked to meeting the needs of all students. Each LCAP must address the 8 state priorities and incorporate specific metrics the state has defined to monitor the priorities. Working with educational partners, the LCAP outlines actions and services that will lead to attainment of the district goals and 8 priorities for all students. Educational partner review and input is an integral part of this process. So parent, student, and public input is used in developing and refining the plan annually. The components that you see in your exhibits include the budget overview for parents, and you should have 3 separate exhibits this evening. The exhibit for South Bay Union School District LCAP, the exhibit for the the Imperial Beach Charter School LCAP, as well as the Nestor Language Academy LCAP, and all will have the same components. So they will have the budget overview for parents, the annual update, which were these past goals and actions, the plan summary, the engaging educational partners section, goals and actions, increased and improved services, and the action tables at the end. So first of all, for the South Bay Union School District LCAP. We reviewed that we have 3 new goals this year. The goals are going to be the same for all 3 LCAPs because the district LCAP drives the goals for the dependent charters as well as for our school plans for student achievement. So they must be aligned. So you will see that alignment. What will differ are the action steps. So these are the action steps for the district. Under Goal 1, effective organizational systems. We have Goal 2, district and school climate, culture, and connectedness, and the actions that go along with that goal. We have Goal 3, academic excellence for all students, as well as the actions. When we came together on Tuesday evening for the board study session, I shared with you the feedback that was received to date on the district LCAP because the district LCAP does require review by the San Diego County Office of Education, as well as the input that we received internally from our system. So on the left-hand side, I had covered most of that with you on Tuesday evening. So just to touch upon a little bit, some rewording of Goal 1. There was also some additional metrics that were needed. We needed to add some language around perhaps the Keenan videos and workforce violence prevention committee or work that we will be doing, as well as increase in growth on specific metrics, and we talked about reclassification, as well as adding an action in Goal 3 specific to our English learners, our LTELs, including support for newcomers, and adding metrics that go along with that. So if we add an action, we need to make sure that we add metrics. On Tuesday evening, I shared with you that the review with the county, which had just happened about an hour prior, their feedback was very similar to the feedback that we received internally. But in addition, they indicated to make sure that we indicated or had an action for all student groups performing in red. And we were missing the actions for students performing in red in the district-wide. We had included for all schools, but we're missing 2 groups. Also completing those missing matrix that we knew were coming. completing a section called additional concentration grant funding. This was just an oversight on my part because those funds were used to support the schools with counselors. So maybe 2 years ago, there were additional concentration funds that we received. That is when we identified placing counselors in all of the schools. And so the counselors are in the plan. I did not realize that I had to continue to identify that they were paid out of the additional concentration funds. So just a bit of a technicality. So I need to go back in and put that. They also indicated the required metrics of the California Healthy Kids Survey data on sense of safety. And so we use that data for a lot of our metrics, but we have to specifically use the sense of safety question as well as state data on science. So we have to have the CASC data and we also have to have the science data. There was also not suggestions, but a requirement. We cannot leave any sections blank. So if they do not apply, I have to go back in and put NA. And then minor budget revisions were included as well in the review. So that's tomorrow's work, is making all of those revisions. As far as our next steps, tonight is our public hearing. We will then integrate all of the feedback and make any of the needed revisions. Then we will seek board approval on June 20th for all 3 LCAPs, the district, Imperial Beach Charters, and Nesters. We will submit to the San Diego County Office of Ed for final review and approval. And then, as I mentioned, although our process is complete, the county's process picks up there, and they have to do a deeper dive, making sure that everything is complete. And they will actually submit our LCAP to the California Department of Education when it passes all of their criteria and tests that they run. For Imperial Beach Charter School, their LCAP goal 1, as I indicated, will be the same. And what you will see that's different are the actions. And again, they're incorporating their funds as well as their categorical funds, such as Title I and Title III. And so you will see that they have, it's not that they can't have more goals. You'll probably see more in some goals and less in others, but they have their parent and family involvement. They have on-campus activities working in conjunction with PTA and community partners. And then in here, you'll see their basic services, which are their salary, supplies, and other basic services listed as an action. In their goal 2, as far as Imperial Beach Charter School, they are working on, and I know that when they did their presentation, their school presentation, we heard a lot about the school-wide equity work that they're doing to improve school culture and climate. Their focus on restorative practices, trauma-informed care, attendance improvement. They do have middle school athletics and activities. So again, that's not something that you would necessarily see in our LCAP, but that will appear in both of them, the charter LCAPs. They have peaceful playgrounds, school-wide college and career focus on environmental science. And under goal 3, they listed their learning acceleration tutor. They have a learning acceleration tutor that works to support math and reading interventions, universal design for learning, for reading and writing support for staff and in-class instruction, and staff collaboration. For Nesters, I reversed the numbers. Look at that. For 2024 to 2027, and I didn't catch that in all of the reviews, in their LCAP, goal 1 under effective organizational systems, you'll see family education and engagement, and then salary, supplies, and other basic services. For their goal 2, they have their social emotional learning, attendance intervention and support, school-wide positive behavior intervention support, release, so time for teachers and or the committee to release and work on PBIS, equity and inclusion, professional learning around equity and inclusion, after school enrichment, which are the 7th and 8th grade sports, culturally relevant materials and supplies. And in goal 3, their list includes their learning acceleration tutors. They also have literacy development and impact teacher, bilingual instructional assistants, professional development for language development, which is Project Loud that they do, establish dedicated release time for educators to engage in data analysis specific to multilingual learners, also professional development for literacy instruction. They have extended learning and school services, student progress monitoring, supplemental instructional materials, professional learning that promotes the pillars of dual immersion, academic achievement, biliteracy, bilingualism, and sociocultural competence, as well as release time for teachers for their student study team, and professional development for teachers in the area of mathematics. The next steps for the charters are a little different than for the district. Tonight, we will have the public hearing. We will seek board approval on June 20th for their charters, and then we upload them into the platform for the San Diego County Office of Education. Because they are approved much like our school plans for student achievement, they do not go directly to the CDE like the districts does. And I shouldn't say directly, but after many steps from the county to the CDE. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and then we will ask for a public hearing on all 3 LCAPs.
Trustees, any questions?
I have no questions, but thank you so much for, I know there's so many components to this puzzle. And I know, as you explained before, like how you collect this data to create these goals, a lot goes into it. So thank you for all your work.
Well, and thank you to our teams, because really it was many, many teams across the district, including all of our educational partners. So our teachers, our staff across the board, classified and certificated, our parents, our students in their interviews that were done throughout the year, all of that really contributed, as well as our LCAP advisory committee that really helped to identify some areas that we were missing and needed revisions. And so I want to extend that appreciation as well to everyone that worked so hard on this plan, not only the program components, but the fiscal components. So thank you.
Now I'm going to conduct a public hearing regarding the South Bay Union Imperial Beach Charter School and Nestor League Academy Local Control Accountability Plan. The time is 8:05.
There are no public comments.
I will now adjourn at 8:05. Thank you. Now moving on to business services. I would like to recognize Assistant Superintendent Rigo Lara and Director Jonathan Meraz.
Good evening, Vice President Medina, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, staff and community. Tonight, we are making the district's 24-25 proposed budget available for public review and comment before adoption on June 20th. It includes the governor's May revision. The annual budget cycle. A new fiscal year begins every July 1st with a newly adopted budget. The budget is based on assumptions and it's dynamic. It's not static. There's always changes throughout the budget cycle when new information comes our way. Revenues and expenditures change, and we present those updates in December and March during the first and second interims. So how did we get here to proposed adoption? It starts in January during phase 1. We begin to look at site and department budgets, revenues. We begin to look at staffing and enrollment projections. And with that information, we begin to develop the budget. Of course, we also use We also use the information from the January governor's budget proposal, and we then update the budget when he then presents his May revision. We are currently in phase 2, so we've made updates to the budget, and we seek board adoption in a couple of weeks. At this time, I will ask Director Meras to come up. He will talk more about revenues and expenditures.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and attendees. I'll try to move here through the expenditures and revenues, and I try not to be too boring. Here you'll see fiscal year 24-25 projected revenues on the unrestricted and restricted side, including federal, state, other local, and LCFF. As you can see, LCFF is our biggest source of revenue at 64.6%. Distant second is our state revenue at 17.2. Other local revenue at 13.7, and federal at 4.5. Here, we're going to take a look at the expenditure side, both unrestricted and restricted. And I just want to touch a little bit on what restricted and unrestricted means. Restricted sources are specific to an educational need. Unrestricted are for educational purposes that are deemed necessary by the district. Here you can see our biggest expenditures are salaries and benefits. We are a people-centric organization, 79.6%. Distant second, services and other operating costs at 16.5%. Books and supplies at 3.8%. And capital outlay, a small percentage, 0.1%. Moving on to the unrestricted side for expenditures. Here you can see the trend continues. As you can see, salaries and benefits are at 92.3% of our unrestricted expenditures. Services and other operating costs are at 6.4%. Books and supplies at 3.4%. And you can see the breakdown on the right there, certificated, classified, and benefits of that big expenditure, that big part of the pie. We're going to talk about one-time funding. During the pandemic, district received one-time funding to help us get through the pandemic, continue providing services. Essentially, our district has spent down almost all of our one-time funding. We do have until September 30th of this year to spend down any new items that after we close the year, we find there, but we're essentially spent down. There's 2 grants that are left that are allowing us to spend until 2026 and 2028. And that's around $5.2 million. You can see there on the bottom right. Here on this slide, you'll see the difference between our estimated actual budget and second interim. Estimated actuals is an exercise where the district identifies how the year is going to end on the fiscal side. During estimating actuals, we identify items that may not be spent down for various reasons. And this cleanup process netted us our estimated ending fund balance of $41.5 million for this current fiscal year. That $41.5 million will be our beginning balance for the fiscal year 24-25. That's like a big savings account. So if anything, the district has done a great job of building this ending fund balance. It's going to allow us to remain fiscally solvent through the next few years. However, there is a challenge that the district is going to have to meet, and that challenge is our deficit spending. And Assistant Superintendent Lara will hit the deficit spending in the next few slides, and now I'd like to welcome back Assistant Superintendent Lara.
The district must always look ahead and show fiscal solvency over a 3-year period. And that's what we're going to do and go over some of that information right now. Our MYP is based on assumptions, and those assumptions are based on historical data, but really mostly on the current information that we have right now. They influence our projections and will change, like I've mentioned, with new information, new data. Our MYP includes, and I won't read each one of those there, but you have heard about our COLA. We've talked about it. It's only at 1.07% for the upcoming fiscal year, and it's projected to be approximately 3% in the 2 out years. Our assumptions also include declining enrollment. We're projecting the loss of students there in parentheses that you can see, and the projections of decreased funding, again, due to declining enrollment. And we look at STRS and PERS rates. They are still high, and they've continued to rise. And we're also assuming health and welfare increases, and our contributions to special education also continue to increase each and every year. Our decline in enrollment information, you see a drop again of 196 students, which is projected to next year. Another drop of 168 students, and then in the second out year, 149 students. And again, students enrollment, students in seats, that's what brings our revenue to the district. And if we were to, since 2017-18, still have the same number of students, 5,474, that would mean that we would have approximately $27.8 million more today. So again, if we still had those students, if we hadn't lost one student since then, we would have had $27.8 million more in revenue. So just to give you an idea of what it means to have lost all our students that declined since 2017-18.
Mr. Lara, what date did you say if we have the same students from what date?
From the 2017-18, the first number there.
17-18, thank you.
And that is to 24-25. So that's a 34.7% drop. And it's an estimated 40.5% drop into the 26-27 projected year. I'm not sure how it's skipping like that. Okay. Acting a little funky. The impact of declining enrollment in connection with the proposed COLA. So proposed COLA, the increased funding 1.07%, does not necessarily mean a revenue increase when you're a district of declining enrollment. Looking at our current 23-24 year, our funded ADA was 4,108. You multiply that by the funding, the LCFF dollars per ADA, we get a total allocation of approximately $59.7 million. Now comparing that to our proposed 24-25 year, if we're taking into account now 196 less students there in red, our funded ADA has now decreased to 3,688. We multiply that by the slight increase of LCFF dollars per ADA at 14,647. And that now gives us a projection of approximately $54 million. So a decrease of $5.7 million. Percentage-wise, that's a decrease of 9.56 from one year to the next. And just remember, fixed costs are annually increasing at approximately 3%. So before we even make any changes, potential moves, those fixed costs are increasing. I want to point you out there to the top left. Director Meras did mention our beginning balance for 24-25 at approximately $41.6 million. But here, rather than just going through every single line there, we do want to point out the impact of the deficit spending on the ending balance. So after the deficit of $7 million, the ending balance is now $34.5 million. That becomes our new beginning balance in 25-26. And with a projected deficit of $8.8 million, the ending balance is now approximately $25.8 million in 25-26. That then becomes our beginning balance the following year in 26-27, with a projected deficit of $9.1 million. Then the ending balance in the second out year is approximately $16.6 million. And as you know, and that we've shared consistently, is that AB 1200 requires that we make projections over a 3-year period and not just look at that first year, but really key in on that final number there that you see is $16.6 million. The challenge is real around deficit spending, again, connected to declining enrollment. And we really have to look at, we've been managing it, and COVID dollars definitely allowed us to continue with that deficit. But we really need to, this coming year, look at problem solving to right-size our budget and become a little bit more aggressive in making those decisions. Again, problem solving as a team to see how we can address that. Our components of the ending balance, many times there are different components to the ending balance, and I always like to remind everybody that the reserve is not the ending balance. The reserve, the 5% reserve, is a part of the ending balance. It's a component of the ending balance, and that 5% reserve there is $4.85 million. Another component of the ending balance is the revolving cash fund and stores, and what that really is our inventory, and also the RCF is easier to explain with an example. Let's just say direct deposit did not go through for an employee. Obviously, we would have to address that immediately. No one wants to go without a paycheck even for 1 day, right? So we would be able to in-house quickly write that person a check so that they would not have to worry about that potential problem. So we have to have that cash fund ready to go. Commitments and assignments, those are amounts designated for specific purposes. Those are future expenses that we've planned for, and sometimes that the board has directed us to commit. That total is at 34. Those three there, the ending balance, the total is $34.5 million. I wanted to highlight though the line item of the commitments and assignments. In red are the commitments, and again, I won't read each and every one, but security, we have currently began to install cameras at Mendoza, and that's a project that we will be doing over the next few months. You know that we have been planning for that. You actually saw a commitment, I believe, of $5 or $6 million in the past. That's now at $2.8 million. Technology refresh, there's a refresh plan over the 3-year MYP, so we need to make sure we have dollars for that. Textbook adoption, the requirement tentatively is for, I believe, math in 2025 and ELA in 2027. I hope I didn't mix those up. So again, we have to make sure we are setting aside for those future expenses. Educational programs, we've been talking a lot about school consolidation, but also the future of our district and how can we ensure that we have more attractive programs for our students and our families. We have set aside that $3.8 million there. So I'll start with the state. Initially, during the governor's May revision, one of his proposals, there was a lot of opposition. And without getting into all the details, it basically would have excluded $8.8 billion from the Proposition 98 22-23 base. And that would have impacted education funding in the long term. So there was a lot of opposition about that. And I know that they had many discussions, and it looks like then the governor has changed course and has now decided to fund that gap through a combination of cash and budget deferrals, and also through withdrawals from the Proposition 98 reserve. Proposition 98, I've talked about it, but let me just talk about what it is. It guarantees that 40% of the state budget will go to education. But Proposition 98, it's dependent on the state economy and also the economy and state revenues. So when the outlook isn't good, like it isn't now, then that could be a challenge for education. The state is dealing right now with a $45 billion deficit. So the good news is that governor continues to protect education, and he has for the last several years, but we can't assume that that will continue. There will be a new governor this year, I think so, or soon. And we don't know what that new governor will protect education as much as Governor Newsom has. So hopefully he or she will. But we have to look ahead and plan for the worst at times. Decline in enrollment and the connection to deficit spending, we've talked about that. I mentioned that earlier, and it's real, and it's a district budget challenge that we will need to problem solve, like I've mentioned, and really look at ways to right-size the budget. Our revenues are not keeping up with our expenditures, so we have to really look at that and do something about that. Okay. I've shared some not great news or about our challenges, but I do want to say, and I want to end this slide with, or end with really that we are fiscally solvent though. We currently can meet our financial obligations. We though need to begin to address some of our challenges. Again, but we are fiscally solvent, so that is good news. Board adoption on June 20th, our next steps as well. The state will also adopt its budget in June. The 45-day budget revision is in August, and it's only if there are major changes to our budget. We don't expect that, but if there is, we will be back in August and share those with you. We'll have closeout unaudited actuals for the previous year in September. And we are currently in negotiations with both our labor partners. And as you know, any agreement in the future does have a financial impact. But we are currently there. We've started the process, but we will continue to negotiate over time. Thank you. If any comments or questions?
Trustees, any questions or comments?
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us that this is a living document that changes all the time based on the state budget. And I know it can be so hard to only plan for the worst case scenario, but I can see how it's smart to keep us fiscally solvent for years to come. I also, so when hearing about reduction in funds that go into the classroom to our teachers, that's always disappointing. And then funds that go to our administration. I also see how we are doing a lot of new things, a lot of different things. We have new programs and we're rebuilding and redefining. So I can see how we need people to lead those programs. But hopefully we can, in negotiations, we can keep money in the classroom and for our teachers.
Can I just add something to that? And I see Ms. Barrera still here. So if we can have an example, because I don't know what that means when we say we're taking money out of the classrooms. I don't know what that really means. So if we can have some clarification, Rigo, I don't know if you know what that means.
I don't know specifically what that means. I don't want to make assumptions, so I'm not sure what it means, or if it means let's not do it.
Ms. Barrera, do you want to highlight that, or would you rather send it in an email? Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No?
Yeah, let me clarify why I'm asking. I think it's really important that when we are putting information out in public, that we're very specific about what that means, right? It's really difficult to say something in general. That's why I'm asking for the clarification, because then I don't know what that means, right? And I don't know that Rigo knows what that means. So it's just, I want to know specifically when somebody says something, like, what are they talking about? Because taking money out of the classroom, that's a very big statement. So that's why I'm asking that question.
I appreciate the clarifying question. Thank you.
So now I would like to conduct a public hearing on the 2024-2025 proposed budget. And it's 8:26.
There are no public comments.
Now I will adjourn at 8:26.
Thank you. And I do just want to thank Director Meras and his team. And like Pam, our Assistant Superintendent Riker Montiel mentioned, this is a district-wide getting the adopted budget going or the proposed budget ready. It is a big team effort of not just from the business services sides, but other principals, admin secretaries, and other directors. Director Meras came in just a few months ago, and I let him know that timelines are timelines. You have to get going. This has to happen. And he and his team did it. So I just do want to thank everybody who are participating, who were part of the budget for 24-25.
Good job, Director Metas. Way to hit the ground running.
Now, future agenda items. At this time, each trustee may suggest one topic for a future board meeting.
Something that I would really like to see in a future board meeting, kind of going off of what Mary Dole mentioned earlier. She talked about a resolution to talk about the sewage crisis and get the government to take an action on that in order to like help keep this a beautiful community. I think that one of the biggest reasons, and we've seen the data on this, why people are leaving our district, it's because of the housing crisis. It's because the rent increases have outpaced the rate of wages for the people in our community. Right? It's because of the lack of protections against evictions, where investors can come into our neighborhoods, buy up entire blocks and buildings, and evict families within a couple months' notice. I think that our government needs to do something to help with this crisis. And I would love to see our board, our parents, our students, reach out to our local, our county, and our state elected officials, demanding that they do something about this housing crisis. Because no matter how much we raise wages, we're never going to keep up with the price of housing. And in order to protect our communities, I think that is something that we should look into.
Okay, in way of summary, could you tell me what the request is? Summarize your request?
Just like we wrote a resolution regarding the sewage crisis, can we draft a resolution regarding the housing crisis?
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other future agenda items?
So I'd like to have a request to see all our schools, school grounds, anything. I think security is something that we haven't forgot about it. I think we need to consider, our kids are safe, our parents are safe, our teachers are safe, everybody in the school environment are safe. So I'd like to see if I can request some sort of feedback from the school administrators and see how safe those schools are being run. Drills, safety drills, and getting the safety officer also involved with this.
Okay, thank you. We did just recently have a security audit. So we brought in a security expert that walked all our schools and created an audit for us. I can share that with you, but we will also add that to future board items, just in case we need to bring that back. Okay?
Thank you.
Now, moving on to future agenda items follow-up, I would like to recognize Superintendent Jose Espinosa.
Thank you, Vice President Medina. And so we had two items. One was a presentation on the Nikolov Dual Language Immersion Program, which I'm hoping that the update that we had tonight was enough for that item. And that was your item, Vice President?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And the other one was information on the status of consumables and redistribution of teaching materials. And that was Trustee Likerd's item, so I will hand it over to her and let her expand on that.
Thank you so much. I realize I am unclear with exactly how it works with the contracts that we have regarding consumables and textbooks and things like that. But what I've seen is that there is many extra. And I would like to know how we can work with the companies that we purchase our curriculum from to, I don't know if we're getting the proper amount based on declining enrollment or even with what we actually use. And then I think about in my own daughter's classroom, she just brought home a textbook or a workbook. There was only a couple pages used in it. And it occurs to me that a lot of her homework is based on where she and her classmates are. It's not always aligned with the textbook for, or the curriculum for that grade level. So maybe if we can take what we have and share it within schools and maybe even have like some fourth grade material available for the fifth graders in the beginning of the year as a refresh. How can we use what we have and make a plan for the future to take into consideration declining enrollment and the books that we purchase? Thank you.
And so at this point, we're just looking, we did provide some information in the Friday update. I don't know that if, I don't know that it completely answers that question, but we are looking for consensus. If there's consensus from the board, if that's something that the board would like us to look into, then we can definitely bring something back, whether it's an additional Friday update or whether it's, some type of presentation. But I will share that this is a process that we're starting now. Earlier, Assistant Superintendent Lara talked about, we're going to start looking at some areas that, that we can become more efficient in. That's an area. Given that we are declining in enrollment, then, we do have contracts for consumables, things like that. Then how do we work with those companies to address the, if we have 5,000 students one year and 4,800 the next year, there's 200, possibly 200 consumables that we're going to receive. So how do we work with that so that, yes, so that we are more efficient? We did put some information in the Friday update, but if that doesn't really answer the whole question, then we can look at that again, as long as the board, has some consensus around that.
I think it would be good for us to look into it.
Any other comments? So now communications from the Board of Trustees. Each trustee has a limit of 3 minutes.
First, I would like to take a moment to recognize the community members that came out today from Nestor. I think it's great to see everybody so engaged and so passionate about their children's education. And I really look forward to the upcoming town halls where I really hope we can continue to bring this energy. I would love to see, parents from all the other schools, come together to figure out how do we move forward as a district, right, to make sure that all of our schools are as good as Nestor. So that all of our schools are so as passionate as the parents from Nestor are. I think it's something that I'm really excited about in this process of reflecting and restructuring. There's, I think, a lot of potential in this district. I'm still traumatized about this thing about Mendoza not having a bilingual principal for about 30 years. I think it's something that we're trying to change in this district, the culture. I don't believe the last superintendent spoke Spanish. Is that right? Or the previous one. In a community like ours, I think it is, I don't even have the words for that, but I am really excited for the future. The four of us here are all parents in this district, and we ran because we care about our children's education, and we care about the education of the children in our community. So again, thank you all for coming out today and participating, and welcome Trustee Esparza. We're happy to have you here on the team.
Yes, definitely I would like to thank each and every one of you guys to come up here, spend hours, outside and come in here and express your feelings, what you feel. I took notes. Every single one of you who spoke, I took notes. And I understand, and I trying to listen, and I trying to see how we can, as a team, trying to talk about it and come up with something positive. I'm also a parent. I also have children, and they also go to school. So I'm like with you guys. So any concerns, like I said, I do listen, and I have the team that we're gonna work together and come up with something that we all gonna be comfortable with. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for everyone who stayed out so late and stayed till the very end. It's important that everybody hear what's going on with all different aspects. I love Nestor. I mean, my children go to Nestor. I have one in primary grade and one in upper grade. So all these decisions directly affect me as well. I love the community, the families, the staff. They have cared for me and my kids when we needed support even more than academically. So please know that I love Nestor, but I ran for school board because I want all of our students in our community to have great experiences in school, great opportunities. Our children don't live in a bubble. We go to school we're friends with people from different schools, and we grow up, and this is our community, and I hope that we can build up other schools and programs. I love getting ideas. This proposal by Senora Barcera. I appreciate ideas. And that's what we need to keep doing, is we need to keep talking and exploring different avenues. I think about if we were to separate just the junior high, again, just ideas. I'm just one person throwing out ideas. And then we're able to grow the junior high. That would open up opportunities for Nikolov students to continue their bilingual and biliterate education through 8th grade. Or even if something like we slowly decline the enrollment or the acceptance of new kindergartners into Nestor, so that our families, and I didn't say stop, I said like slowly, so our families can still stay together, TK through 8. It doesn't affect any of our families here. It leaves room for siblings to continue to keep coming into Nestor. Again, I love ideas. I think about them all the time. Like, how can we come together and do what's best for our students now and for in the future? Because we can't wait until somebody else down the road says, why didn't you do something 5 years ago? Because I've already heard that. That's what I hear all the time. Why didn't the board make decisions before? But we have a brand new board. We have a new superintendent. And I think that we're all working together the best we can to provide for all of our students. Thank you all for staying.
Thank you for all the presentation. Thank you for the parents that stayed until the end. I invite you to continue getting involved. Go to the town hall meetings that are coming up. Not right now. The committee has to meet for several months. Keep in touch, and thank you for staying until the end. I would like to adjourn this meeting at 8:41.